Nneka,
What's
happy
going on,
Monday. Happy
Mike?
Monday.
Yes,
I'm
happy
good. How are
Monday.
you doing today, young lady?
I am
Oh
good.
my goodness. Good, 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 good to hear that. It is this is gonna be a doozy today. This is going to
Yeah.
be a doozy. I'm really excited about this topic. You actually picked this one out and you did a phenomenal job. I started doing a little bit of research before yeah, you knocked it out of the park. I started doing some research, and I was like, mm, mm. I want to know how often it happens. So let's go ahead and kick it off on tonight. We want to say welcome to everyone. And before we get started, guys, we really, really, really want you to chime in because this is one of those topics that is very, 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 very interesting. Not that all of them aren't. Here's the thing: pray, stay, walk away. What do you do if you find out the person, your significant other, is hiding something from you? And it's sort of a big deal. What do you do? Do you pray? Do you stay? Do you walk away? And then Nika, I thought about this and I was like, I wonder if this were to happen to me, if I discovered it, it might be one thing. If it was thrust upon me, meaning like it was put out there, that could mean something else. I don't know. But we're gonna toss it over to you because this is a great subject, and it was one that you came up with. I don't want to give you any credit for because you did a great job on it. But I want you to tee it up the way that you did with me when we talked about it, so that the audience can get a good feel for what we're going to be talking about on tonight.
Okay. Well, like you said, it's definitely a doozy, and thanks for being open to discussing this. I went to see this movie, so hopefully I'm not spoiling the movie for some people, but I won't disclose the end of the movie. So basically, Zendaya played in a movie called The Drama. And in this movie, she's engaged to be married. She's 25 years old. She's engaged to be married. She was, long story short, she was sitting around the table with friends and they were asking questions about what's the worst thing that you've done, when you were younger that you're not so proud of. So one person said, "Oh, I was dating this girl. A dog was about to bite me and I used her to shield me from getting bit." Okay. We're like, "Oh, that," they were like, "Oh, that's so horrible." Right. And so then the next girl said, I she locked a special needs boy in the closet and locked it, and then there was a search warrant out for him and she didn't let anybody know that she had locked him in the closet, and they were like, "Oh." So eventually they found him, but that was one of the things. So it got progressively worse. So then Zendaya, the character, well, her name was Emma, who's played by Zendaya. They asked her fiance, what was the worst thing that you've done when you were younger? Now mind you, they're all 25 now. This was 10 years ago when they were 15. And then he said, "I cyber bully people." And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's horrible." So Zendaya, which is Emma, the character Emma, she came around and she said, "I planned a mass shooting." And they looked at her and she gave the details of the plan. She had three girls that she had the gun, she had the plan, she had, was recording her speech because I think she was going to, I don't think she was going to kill herself, but she had a plan that she was going to do a mass shooting, and she had a well thought out plan. So everyone was in shock because again, it got progressively worse. So here she is she was engaged to be married 2 weeks before the wedding. This was something that her fiance was like, "I didn't know this about you." So everyone was upset. The other people, the party that they were, dining with, they were very upset with her. "How could you, that something like that would even cross your mind to do?" And because she said she was bullied, but she wasn't even severely bullied. She was, she was bullied, but it wasn't even severely bullied. But she was honest. She was open and honest with them. She didn't have to tell them. She was open and honest. So the fiance was very like, "What do I do? Do I marry this girl still?" So what would you do? Again, that's 10 years ago. She was 15, they're now 25. What do you do? Do you move forward? So we're going to have multiple scenarios, but not just this one. But what do you do? Do you move forward in that relationship? What would you do, Michael?
Uh, I'm gonna be honest with you, Nika. That would be a no for me.
It would be.
First of all, I would be like shocked. You planned a mass murder, like a mass shooting. Like you were just going to set up something and you were just going to go up into school with all this ammo, like Rambo, shoot the joint up. And then what? Like, what after that?
Yeah, that's a good.
And, when you and I talked about it, I thought about this. I was like, and I thought about it when you first said it. I was like, man, this woman has the capacity probably still to kill somebody like this. Like that's a horrible thing to like. First of all, okay, you thought about it, but it wasn't that you just thought about it, Nneka. Like you literally planned it out. And I think maybe you could get over it if a person said, I thought about it. But then when you say, I put this much effort into it, like it was gonna happen. And the one thing we didn't talk about, because I think you don't want to get a movie away, what stopped her from doing it?
Well, what ended up happening, they defined what a mass shooting would be. A mass shooting, I think, is uh, 4 or more people. She was only
Mm-hmm.
trying to kill 3 people. And so I think she wanted that notoriety of having a mass shooting. And so she decided not to. And then she started to be an advocate against, against gun violence. But when she started hearing people talk about what a mass shooting was, I don't think it wasn't glamorous enough for her. So she decided not to do it because when they defined what a mass shooting was, that wasn't it, because she was only going to kill 3 people.
See, now even that would make me pissed off, that the fact that you decided not to do it basically because you were one short, right? Like in your mind, it wasn't sexy enough that, that 3 people would be dead. You needed one more, and because you couldn't get the one more, and it wasn't going to give you all the effect, all the pomp and circumstance,
Right.
all the balloons and ticker tape parade and all the rest of that old crazy nonsense, that you wouldn't do it. I mean, that would be shocking to me. That would be something that I would just, I don't know how we'll respond in that moment, but I believe I probably would get up from the table and just leave. And I probably wouldn't, I'd never say anything to the person ever again. It's
Really?
nothing. Yeah, I don't think I could come back from that. There's some things I think you could come back from. And the reason being is because I would always think in the back of my mind somewhere, Nneka, like, first of all, you only reason you didn't kill these people is because it wasn't enough people to, so you could be celebrated. But the fact that you planned it out and you thought that meticulously about, killing these people, you put that much thought into it, I would be nervous that you would do that to me. I would just be on eggshells, that my life I would never be safe around you. I wouldn't know what I would do or what I could do that might trigger you to think, maybe I need to kill 4 people. I need to kill your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, just throw some extras in to get over some bonus, right? And then get you as well. I would always think that in the back of my mind. I would just have that planning. And I don't ever want to be around someone where I don't feel like my life, I'm safe with someone.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, I think some people in the reviews, they were a little upset because Black women were upset because when they heard how upset the group was, that about, because Zendaya was and Zendaya's Black, and then there was another Black person in the group. The other people were
Mhm.
white. And so what some people were saying, and I'll get to what I would do, they were saying the fact that she admitted there was no compassion for her. They were just willing to just throw her away because she's a Black woman. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't. I don't want to always want to insert, the color, the race thing and everything.
Mhm.
And although it does fit for a lot of things, it does. But in this case, I don't feel like it fit. People were saying, oh, because she's a Black woman, no compassion for her. There's always rehabilitation. Everybody else, said the wrong things that they did. And it was, wasn't frowned upon. There was no camaraderie. There was no support. I get this part. There was no sing about her. Like, after they
Mm.
heard it, the other 2 people, like her fiance, he had questions, but the other 2 was so willing to just throw her away. They were just, and I don't agree with that. They were so willing to just discard her, as opposed to asking questions. They asked no question. They were just like done. For me, it would be hard. it would be hard. You 2 weeks away from your wedding, and to learn something like that. And I think what ended up happening, the fiance started having flashbacks of encounters that he recalled with her flying off the handle. So when that was told to them, he started reminiscing, and they was showing like flashbacks of her being very angry and aggressive. So he was like, oh, okay, so that's in you. So not only did she, plan this mass shooting that didn't happen, but he started thinking about times where she was really, really aggressive and angry with people. So it would be hard to reconcile with that, because I don't think I would discard you right away, but I would want to know, have you had therapy? Have you really worked through whatever was going on with you at that time? Have you worked through those things? So I don't think I would have been real quick to just discard. I would be a little apprehensive, but I think if I love this person, I think I would want to dig a little deeper before I just kind of like throw up my hands.
Yeah, no, that's a no for me, because it's just too. No, because it's too severe, right? Like the other people, yeah, they did do some pretty nasty stuff, and in those instances, I would have some serious questions like, "What's wrong with you? Why would you lock somebody in the closet and not have the police find them?" Like that would, to me, I might even go as far as that to say, I don't know if I want to be around you either, because that's just kind of crazy to me, right? But this is homicidal tendencies, right? Like you're talking about you planned to kill somebody, and the only reason you didn't, like in my mind, that just really does something to me. The only reason you didn't go through with it is because there was not that one bonus person. And that just doesn't, I don't know, nigga, that just does something to me. And I don't understand, and I'm all for this, right? When a situation it fits. This has nothing to do with race at this point.
No,
like Black women, I mean, this is just my opinion. This has nothing to do with the fact that, this is a Black woman. She was crazy. Just put it where the ghost can get it. And she was willing to go through it. If it was somebody white, we would have no problem saying, oh, look at this crazy white person, or whatever the case is. In this instance, it fits. And I don't think, for me personally, when you talk about killing somebody, nah.
Yeah. But I still think, there should have been some questions, even if you're going to, be done with the person. I feel like you should be curious though. I would want to know. I don't think I could, you love someone, you didn't spend time with this person, and to just,
Nneka, I mean, imagine finding out, to me, I don't know what the difference would be with someone who actually did that, right? I don't know that there's a difference between her and someone else, except that she just did not do it. And that's why I asked the question, well, why did she not do it? That'd be the only question I had, because I'm like, I just want to know what stopped you. And based on that answer, maybe there could be some redemption. But the fact that, like, when I hear you say, oh, because a mass murder is defined by 4 persons and not 3, and because I didn't have 4 persons, I just decided not to go along with it. If I'd had a 4th person, though, it'd have been on and cracking. I'd have took care of business.
Yeah. The other thing that happened, though, Michael, she kept trying to record, her plan so that people could read them, listen to it later. And the machine, the recording just kept defaulting. It kept going off. So she tried about 5 times, and the computer kept shutting off. So she's just like, okay. So it was that she couldn't record. She had the gun held up, and she was recording the whole plan. When you get this would have been happened by now. But the computer kept dying on her, so she couldn't record it. So it was that and the whole definition of a mass shooting.
Yeah, that's too much for me. That's just, I don't need to ask you any more questions. I'm not even worried about, I might even go back and get my stuff if we living together. I'm just like, I don't even want it. I don't want to be around you. I don't want you around anybody that I care about, because I think something is wrong with you. Like, that's, to go that far, that's something wrong. But I really want to put this to our audience too, to all of you who are listening. Could you do that? Could you stay with someone like that if you found out something like this about your significant other, your spouse even, or let's just say your fiance, could you or would you stay? And we would love to know why or why not. Because that's a great, that's a great question. And again, Nneka, I just think about smaller things have happened. Like people who have left people because like they found out they were sleeping with the bridesmaid, or they had a baby that they didn't tell them about, or they stole some money. So one of the things, because I want to talk about different scenarios, because that's just one, but the whole premise is if something so severe like this came up right before you get married, would you marry the person? So Steven Jackson, I sent you this. Steven Jackson, fiance, Steven Jackson, former NBA basketball player, actually NBA great basketball player. He was scheduled to get married. And about a year out before he got married, proposing to his girlfriend or his fiance, he said, look, I love you. I really want to marry you. But before I marry you, you have to sign this prenup. Like there is no wiggle room. I'm not playing with you. If you don't sign this prenup, we're not getting married because I have a lot of assets. And it's not that I don't trust you, but I got to protect me. Right. So in the event that this goes sideways, we'll have some kind of remedy for us to exit the marriage, right? Financially, for the most part, because we could always just walk away and that be that. But financially, we know that's not going to happen. She didn't sign it. 6 months goes by. He says, hey, look, I put that out there for you. What's going on? She's like, well, look, I need to think about it. I need to do it. He said, all right, fine. But I'm just telling you, I'm not going to marry you if you do not sign this document. 3 months go by. Hey, we close. We're planning. I'm spending money. I think he spent like $200,000, $300,000 on this wedding. It was some crazy amount of money he was spending. But he's like, all right, fine. I'm going to roll with you. A month before, Nneka, hey, listen, where is the signed document at? Well, I'm still thinking about it. Blah, 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 blah. On the day of, Nneka, he's like, I'm willing to marry you. Mm-hmm. Even though I've said this a number of times and you've not signed this document, I'm not marrying you if you don't sign this document. Mm-hmm. So something happens. I forget how all of the story goes, but she goes back to talk to the pastor. She's all crying, all upset. Her family is upset. It's a whole thing of now they're trying to make it seem like he's pressing her. It's duress, it's stress, whatever the case is. When you sign these documents, there can be none of these different things, right? Yeah. You know how that works. So he's like, I haven't stressed you because I've said this for a year now and you've not done it. And I've given you periodic, check-ins to say, look, let's get this done. So she was like, well, I'm not going to sign it. Steven Jackson says, all right, cool, no problem. Wedding off. And I think she thought he was going to be like, well, you know what? Don't worry about it. We'll just go ahead and get married. My man said, I'm done with you. I am done. He said, but here's what I am going to do because I already paid for all this stuff. We still going to have the reception. We're going to party. We're going to have a good time. He said it was one of the best parties I've had a great time. And he wound up not marrying her. And to me, it just made sense that because of who he was and all the assets and all that he would go that route. And, they wound up not getting married.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think what's the big deal? I think we talked a little bit about this because it's not like, they had children and he would just not support her. Mm-hmm. Trying to get half of somebody's earning that they worked so hard for. That's a no-no. And so if you're in it for the right reasons, it really shouldn't be an issue.
Right. So look, what happens if somebody finds out that your, future spouse has been cheating on you? That's another one. That's like a whole big one. Like you find out 2 weeks before, hey, somebody's been cheating on me. What do you do? We got a couple of comments in here. And hey, Antoinette, thank you for joining. She says, ooh, okay. If she loved him, she should sign. That's true. I agree with you. Hey, what's going on, John? Good to have you on. I think she should have signed as well. I don't think there should have ever been an issue. We just saw too, because we talked about this, like you said before, we just saw Dak. Dak just signed a $200-something million contract. I think it was a year ago. And he has kids by his fiance. And guess what, Nneka? He told her, you better sign this prenup, because if you don't sign the prenup, we're not getting married. Now I got a financial responsibility to my children, which I plan to take care of them. I'm not going to, not do that. But if you don't sign, Nneka, that girl did not sign. You know what Dak said? See ya.
Yeah.
Deuces. I'm out of here. I'm done.
Yeah. A lot of people have a problem with signing prenups because they feel like you're predicting the end. But the reality is things happen, people change, and unfortunately, and if you have a lot to lose, meaning financially, either way, because it could be the woman on the other end of that, like I would think she would want to protect her interests too. And so when it comes to men, I think on both ends, we all have a right to protect ourselves in that way.
Yeah, but to your point though, I think you have to protect yourself. Let's not even just aside from a prenup, just thinking about this movie that you saw and the young lady and how this woman had the capacity, like, because we got to go back to this, Nneka, because you're the therapist, and I got to ask you this: someone that has the capacity to do that earlier on in life, do they not have the capacity to do the same thing later on in life? Can they turn the corner like that and be like, I was bullied. Da, 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 da. I mean, does that just go away? Because to me, that's a lot, Nneka. That's a lot to say. And then you added more detail for me now, learning that she didn't do it also because the camera wasn't working or the computer wouldn't allow her to go forward. Plus, it wasn't enough people. This girl, to me, it didn't feel like or seem like it was bullying. Now it seems like she's suffering or starving from attention. Mm-hmm. And because she wanted attention, she was willing to go through with killing people, like literally killing people to get attention.
Do you want to tee it up so they'll know what we're talking about and get their take on it?
Yeah. So just recapping, when we first came on, and I wish I had a clip to play from it, but you can't play the clip because we don't have it. But Nneka was telling us about a movie she had seen. What's the name of it again? Well, let me let you tee it up because I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, it's called The Drama. Zendaya's in this movie, and she was about to get married 2 weeks before her wedding. I'm gonna real long story short. Her husband, well, her soon-to-be husband finds out they were doing truth telling. And she told her fiance that when she was 15, now granted they're 25 now, so 10 years ago, she planned a mass school shooting because she was being bullied. I mean, it was an elaborate plan. So he was he thought she was just playing, but could you marry somebody that had the capacity to do something so egregious? She was planning a mass shooting. It didn't happen for, a few reasons why it didn't happen. But he was shocked that the person that he was about to marry had the capacity to even drum up something like that in her head, that she would want to do a mass shooting of people. She had the people in mind that she wanted to shoot. Could you move forward in marrying that person, knowing that 10 years ago, when they were 15, they were planning a school mass shooting? Could you move forward in marrying that person?
Right. Or any situation that was severe like that. If you just found out this devastating secret or this devastating thing about your potential spouse or your future spouse, could you or would you move forward with marrying them? Like, would you have the ability, or do you have the ability to say, we can work through it? Like, what would be the thing that would say you can't do it or that you could do it? What would be the trigger? Because that's what we want to know on tonight, and we want to hear from you guys. We would love to have you guys chime in. Antoinette says definitely not. And Antoinette, thank you so much for chiming in. Tell us why you wouldn't. I know why I wouldn't. And Nneka, could you backfill it a little bit? Because there are a couple of things. Again, the first thing I asked you was, so why didn't she go through it with it? And this really pissed me off. And I'm trying to understand how people could defend that behavior.
Movie, and I'm not going to tell you the end, but what ended up happening, she didn't go through with it because a mass shooting is 4 or more, something to that effect, and she only had 3 people in mind that she wanted to kill. So it wasn't glamorous enough for her because it would only be 3 people, so it wouldn't be considered a mass shooting. And then, like you said, she was having technical difficulties with filming her process. And so then she decided not to do it. She became an advocate for, gun violence. And so, she became a better person. So, but he had to make a decision if he was going to marry her or not.
Right.
2 weeks.
Right.
He didn't know this about her.
So you don't give away the movie, but I don't really. So would it be giving away the movie if I asked you what he decided to do? Would that be giving away the movie at all?
Yeah, because I think you guys need to see it. Yeah,
Okay.
Movie. Because I'm not going to tell. I think I didn't told enough. I need to see the drama so y'all can see what he's actually going to do.
Got it. Okay. So on tonight, we want to know what you would do. I know there are some things, I guess for all of us, right? We have a breaking point. And we have to decide what that breaking point is. We have to decide if whether or not the person that you're going to marry is one that you can trust with your life. I would think that would be like one of the main things a person, entertaining getting married, that you could trust them with your life. I don't understand how you could not, or how you could get married and not have that as probably the top thing on your list as to what I want in a spouse. It's someone who's going to love me, of course, but that's going to have my best interest out. But that's going to also protect me, because oftentimes when we think about protection, we only think about it one-sided, right? We think about a man protecting, at least that's what we hear a lot of, a man protecting his wife and his family in case something comes up. But there's also, the fact that we want, as husbands, we want our wives to protect us as well, and no matter what that is. And if you felt like not only would she not protect me, but this woman would do me bodily harm. And the fact that she was so meticulous and so detail oriented about planning a mass murder, whether it's 3 people or 4 people or not, that's a lot. And I get it. People are bullied, but I'm saying I don't understand here how we can even classify this as bullying, when it sounded like to me, she was just looking for someone to, to throw a ticker tape parade for her, somebody to celebrate her. Like, she was looking for celebration. She was really looking to be applauded for carrying out this mass murder. When you think about, okay, I don't have 4 persons, I got 3. My daggone computer isn't working, so blah, 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 blah. Antoinette said bullying is perceived differently by people. That's true. Antoinette, since you said that, I wonder what would you consider bullying? Like, I mean, if you're going to carry out a mass murder, are you worried about having your, the computer, tape you or film you or whatever the case is? Are you worried about the fact that it was 3 people versus 4 people, so now it's not classified as a mass murder? Because you really want that mass murderer title on your back. You don't want I killed 3 people. That ain't enough. I want mass murderer labeled on me. And John says, no, I couldn't, as a mental health counselor. Okay, I know that, John. She has some mental illness. Yeah, I do believe she has some mental illness, whether she's helping people or not at this moment. It says, I could never do that or take that chance. She didn't do it, but the issues are still there. And that's the thing. Nneka, what if somebody came into your office and they said, hey, it's a couple comes to your office and they say, hey, we were going to get married. We were scheduled to get married, but I called it off. And Nneka, the reason I'm calling off is because I found out this woman 10 years ago was planning to become a mass murderer. I'm not trying to marry someone like that. What do you say to this couple? How do you, as a mental health professional, counsel this couple? And I want to know, are you an advocate? Because, yeah, she was 15, but at 15, first, let me just say this. I believe women mature a lot more faster than men do. That's the first thing. So while she's still 15, she might be the equivalent of maybe an 18-year-old man. I'm talking in terms of her mental capacity, maybe even 20, because she was very detail-oriented in the way that she thought about, carrying out this plan. And I just wonder if, you would advise this man to forgive her and say, well, she's kind of, she goes to counseling, she gets counseling, blah, 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 blah. What would you say to someone like that, to the man?
Yeah, I think you have to ask the question, like, what's your desire, to stay or leave, right? And so if your desire is to stay, there are things that you can come up with to support that desire to stay. If you're
hold on one second. I'm sorry. Let me cut you off real quick. Because I remember this one time you and I were talking, and I love what you told me. You said that it's your job, number one, as a mental health provider, to protect the client, right? Whoever the client is, A or B and both.
Mm-hmm.
In that if there was something that came up, you may have to have the authority step in. If somebody's abusing the child, or somebody's abusing the husband, somebody's abusing the woman, you got to have the authority step in, right? In this instance, would that not kind of, although she hasn't put her hands on him, but this woman has talked about possibly killing, do you not warn him to say, hey, you do realize, blah, da, 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 da.
No, because he has a responsibility I always say to people, you have a responsibility to keep yourself safe.
That's it. That's it. Okay, got you. That was it.
You have a responsibility to keep yourself safe. And so that's what I say. Keep yourself safe. I can't tell people not to get married. If there's an abusive domestic violence situation, I say keep yourself safe. And whatever that means to that person, keep yourself safe. And so if your desire is to stay, a lot of times we're going to come up with things that will support us to stay. If your desire is to leave, you're going to come up with some things to say, okay, I'm out of here. So again, I feel like people can be rehabilitated. I do. You have people who are in relationships who have gone to prison, who have killed people, and they're rehabilitated. I mean, I work in the prison system sometimes. And I go and do talks in the prison systems around mental health. And there are people who have done some very egregious things, and they feel like they're ready to go back out into the world and be better people, not hang around, the people who, encourage bad behavior. So I feel like there's somebody out there that can move on in a situation like that. It may not be your ministry, right, Michael? Are you
no, right? Not me, no.
But there are people out there that will say, you know what? I can live with this because you are a changed person and I can support you where you are. There's a special kind of person out there for that person.
Yep.
It wouldn't be something, I don't know. It wouldn't be something that I could do. Probably. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not faced with that situation. So you would have to be in it to really say what you would do, I think.
No, not me, Nneka. I could tell you sitting back here watching it. Nope. Not going to have it. Nneka, nope. I'm sorry. I'm walking away. I'm done. I'm throwing in all the chips. I'm sorry. It's too much.
You would want to know, like, where were you? I mean, you would have no questions for the person. Are you getting help? So what happened? Let me ask you this. What happened if you found out after you got married? Would you leave?
Right. I'm done. Yep. I'm out of here. Because in my mind, I just don't feel like I would ever be safe. Like I couldn't sleep. I literally could not sleep. I would always think, is she going to try to kill me? And it would just always be in my brain, this woman might try to kill me.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think I could ever get past the fact that I believe this woman might try to kill me. And she's clever enough to pull it off to where it might look like maybe I killed myself. I would then start going through all these different scenarios. It would probably be worse because I've taken it too far.
It wouldn't be free. But again, there are people out there that can live with that. You have people who marry people in prison who have done some very, very bad things.
I've seen it. And listen, because you asked me the question about me, could I do it? My answer is no. And I agree with you. There are people who can do it. And I don't want to discourage someone from not doing it. That's just my personal opinion. I'm gonna now have to go see the movie because I wonder what the ending is. I want to know how her fiance processed it. Like, first of all, he found out with all these other people. It wasn't that this woman came to him and said, hey, before we get married, I just need to share this with you, right? Because I think in that instance, maybe I would probably be like, okay, let's sit down and talk about this because maybe I could work through it. But that wasn't the case. The way that it came out too, like, you gonna tell a bunch of strangers this? Like, you didn't have
they were her friends. They were her friends.
Well, I say strangers, got it. I say strangers in the sense that you're supposed to be marrying me. So I consider everybody else strangers at that particular point, right? But the fact of the matter is you told them at the same time you're telling me. And I would definitely be pissed off at that point. I'm like, wait, you waited to tell me this? You could have told me this when we first started dating. You could have told me this, a month ago. You could have told me this a year ago. But you waited till now. We're playing a game. Like, this happens to come out as we're playing. Like, in my mind, Nneka, now I'm like, I'm probably more pissed about the fact that you just told me.
I hear you. I understand.
Yeah. All those things will go through my mind.
Mm-hmm. What are our guests saying?
So John was the last person. He just said he couldn't do it. But Antoinette said the same thing. Antoinette said, well, she said bullying is perceived differently by different people, but she said she couldn't do it either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, if the behavior violates your core values, and I think those are the things that you got to ask yourself. Does
Mm-hmm.
this behavior violates my core values? And then you look for patterns in her behavior, and that's what he did. He started to reminisce on times where she was very volatile and angry. Let me see, a lot of mass murders.
This is John. I put it up so you can see it.
Okay.
So you can see it. I don't know if you want to read it or not.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of John said, "Hi, John. Thanks for responding." A lot of mass murderers that killed the signs were there, and their issues were never taken serious by family members. After they killed, they found documentation on laptops, computers, letters, etc. I never would condemn. God can intervene, but I would never I could never trust, and I can respect that. That's heavy. That's heavy. But again, I really believe that it takes a special person. But yeah, like I respect John. I respect you, Michael, in terms of you saying absolutely not. Because that's something heavy to carry day to day. You couldn't be free. You're in bondage to it. Like you said, you would be, always thinking about, if you're on the chopping block. So that makes sense.
I would. I mean, it's already a challenge. Like if you found out something devastating, like your spouse or your fiance was cheating on you, like any of those kinds of things, all of those kinds of things. And just to be honest with you, for me, that would be tough as well. Like all of these different things, though. But I think I could work through that as opposed to murdering somebody or thinking about murdering somebody, because that's to me, a whole nother level of, I don't want to say crazy, but that's a whole nother level right there.
Mentally.
And I can live with it. Yeah. I would just be, and I think I would honestly be fearful. And I don't ever want to put myself in a situation where I'm fearful around someone. Like I'm always in fear of my life because I'm around you. Like I just don't know what you would do. Like I know you would kill other people. I would always feel like that, but I feel like you would just throw me in there as well. It would be nothing for you to kill me.
Yeah. Remember the young lady? She was a teenager. She's married. She stayed in prison for about 8 years. And she actually what's her name? She's she was working as a prostitute. She was a teenager. She ended up killing one of them.
I remember this.
Her,
yeah. I forgot.
But you know what
she
I'm
was
talking
just recently, I do. She was just recently released, like maybe 3 years ago or so. I know exactly who you're talking about. Now that story was a little bit different though, right? Because was she kidnapped and raped, I think, something like that?
She was a prostitute.
Prostitute, okay.
I think she was feeling threatened by the guy. I think she gave sex, but there was something else she felt like wasn't right. She felt like he was going to kill her, so she killed him instead. And she spent quite a bit of time in prison, but she got married.
I saw it. I remember that because she was young too. She was about 16, I think. She was a young prostitute, 15, something like that. Antoinette said something, by the way. I want to show this.
Okay.
Nneka. So Antoinette said she's discussing this with her husband. He said he would stay. Wow. So Antoinette, you would go, but your husband would stay. Isn't that interesting? Antoinette, could you ask your husband why would he stay? I would love to know why he would stay and what kinds of questions would he have for someone like that. I would love to know that, because Nneka, you always say you got to get to the bottom of the thing. You got to figure out what the why is. And this is where you and I kind of differ, and we go back and forth. And I'm like, I don't care, Nneka. I don't care what the why is. It doesn't make sense to me. That is too much. And I do, in some instances, understand, there should be a why, but in some, it's like, man, it's not even worth my time in trying to figure out why. You need to figure out why, not me.
If you're not called in that way, you would leave. I mean, and it makes sense, but there are people who are called for particular relationships because it's all a part of the plan.
Yep.
Do it, right? That people can't change. But again, being faced with such a situation, I don't know what I would do. Especially if the person is living a life that's pleasing to God and they have rehabilitated themselves. They didn't do it, but it wouldn't be an immediate no. I would have to really and it would be an immediate yes. It would be something that I would really have to sit back and think about. Like, this is what you did. You know, you didn't do it, but you planned it.
No, but you know what that, okay, I get that. So I have a question for you, a follow-up question, right? Would you still marry them in 2 weeks? Or would you be like, we got to put this on hold before we get married? I can't marry you now. We gotta put this on ice for a minute. I need to process this. I need to work through this. Or would you still keep the wedding date and go ahead and marry him?
We would put it on pause, a long pause, because I mean, I got to shift gears now.
Yeah.
I've had to shift gears. So no. And I think the other thing that we have to consider when a person is accepting responsibility, there's accountability, and there's no excuses. I would look for that too. If a person is, holding themselves accountable for the egregious action, the thought, and not making excuses about it. Well, I was being bullied. So she wasn't making excuses, because she wasn't even being severely bullied. Any type of bullying is wrong. But when she explained the type of bullying, he was just like, but is that it? She was like, yeah. So she told it all. She could have kept it to herself. She could have said nothing because no one knew. No one knew. Her parents didn't know. No one knew because it was no receipts at all. So she kept it to herself, and no one would have ever known.
What if, okay. All right, so before I ask this question, because Antoinette is helping us out here. So Antoinette said he would have to think about how she treats her, how she treats her, and the type of, is it something else in there?
Relationship, maybe?
Yeah, maybe it's supposed to be relationship, but Antoinette, could you finish that off for us? Because we really want to hear from your husband about why. But it would be tough. I know I couldn't stay. I would just always feel like I'd be, fearful. But I do know people are rehabilitated. I have family members who have been in prison. They came out. They're much better people. Okay, she says, let me put this back up here, Nneka. And no worries, no need to apologize. She said how she treats him. Okay. In their type of relationship, how she treats him.
The patterns, like we talked about, it's just like you look for patterns. It's, not, so it's the behavior versus the character, right? So, so those two kind of come together. So if, if she is showing good character, the behavior is showing that I don't have to fear for my life. And there's a consistent pattern of good behavior. I mean, so that's why I'm saying it's not a quick no for me, because I would kind of, go back and think about everything that I've experienced up until this point.
Would you not, could that person or type of person or that situation be considered a lie? Like you didn't tell me about this. Like you waited all this time to tell me, maybe not a lie, but I don't know, maybe a lie, because you waited all this time to tell me this. And I feel like that's unfair too, by the way, to the fiance, the gentleman, the man. If it were a woman, I'd say the same thing. But in this instance, it's him. I feel like that's disingenuous. Like you waited all this time to drop this kind of a bomb on me, because that's definitely something that, that could make someone walk away. Like myself, I would walk away. I would love you, but I would love you from a distance. And then I don't know if I would love you as much, because I feel like you were deceiving me, right? I would really feel like you were deceiving me.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't know what else you'd be capable of, because you waited all this time to tell me. And again, the situation that we found ourselves in, and how it all came out too. Maybe again, if you were more upfront with me and forthcoming and told me outside of that situation, maybe I could deal with it a little bit better. But the fact that I found out because we're playing a goddamn game, you decided to come forward. I don't know. That would just be a lot for me.
Yeah. No, I support what you're saying. It's just that it's just not a open and shut case for me. It's just like, I would have to really process, because, the people that I love, I love them hard. It takes a while to get there. Once I'm there, I love you. and
Yeah.
to discard you right away, just like that, it's not something that I can do. But like you
Yeah.
said, I would definitely postpone the wedding,
Yep.
but it wouldn't be in 2 weeks. We would
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah. And that's a good point you raised too, Nneka. Like, and this is something I realize about myself, and I have to be very careful about it. And I've learned over the years to manage it is, and I don't know what the condition is, because I'm sure there's a condition, because there are some of us who have the ability to flip a switch and walk away like we never knew you. We could literally have been in, you could be in my life for 40, 50 years, and you do something, and I could just flip the switch and walk away. And I could walk away and not lose an ounce of sleep of it. And I know there are a ton of us like this, and I know that that's not good. And in some instances, it is good, because you have to have the ability to be able to make a hard decision and live with the decision.
yeah.
Some people can't do that. But it's also not good when you could just automatically flip the switch with no real thought process behind flipping the switch, as to say to yourself, okay, if I flip this switch, what does this mean? Because it may not be that I'm just cutting them off, but it's a whole rack of other people that might be, associated with them that I have relationship with. What does that mean now? Do I cut them off too? Or is it just this person that I'm cutting off? But then I think about the situations, which have, and I think this all goes back to how you were raised and situations that you've had to endure, and why you've developed this mechanism, this I can flip this switch and turn it off. And I would love for you to talk to that, because I do know I have to sometimes counsel people and say, look, I understand why you want to do it, but you really need to think about this, because when you flip that switch, there's a lot that goes into flipping that switch, because it's not like you could just flip it right back on and things go back to being the way they were. Right. It's no ins and outs. You got to really think about this. And as an adult, I really thought about it. I'm like, if I flip that switch, that means you've taken me there. When I was younger, it didn't take much. It would just be like, oh, okay, this is what it is. I see you this way. I just flip the switch and I just keep it moving.
Wow. Yeah. And it's your attachment style. Back then you probably had a dismissive, anxious attachment style. So if someone hurt you, it would be nothing for you to just kind of dismiss them. So you have dismissive, you have anxious, you have secure attachment style, insecure attachment style. And you could fall in the category of dismissive, back in the day,
Yeah. I think I probably still could now. What has helped is the fact that I'm saved now, meaning I'm a Christian now. That's really helped, because it's forced me to think about making that type of decision, because it's always what would Christ do, right? And then you hear God speaking to you about, okay, listen, the person may have genuinely made a mistake. And so then now, as you always say, what's the why? So you got to go back and start thinking about why did they do it? And I'll always hear God saying, what if the shoe on the other foot? Would you want that grace? Right? Because I always hear God saying the grace that you want is the grace you must give.
That's
and
right.
so that always is a thing. But I also hear God saying, you have to exercise wisdom as well. There are instances where you have to walk away because the person was just meant you no good, right? They were pretending. Like, we have pretenders sometimes around us and we can't see it, but then something happens and then God raises your level of discernment, and then you can see, oh, this person didn't mean me any good. Although we may have, or at least I thought we were friends, but I can see now we really weren't friends. You were really using me to get to a place where you were trying to get to. And so I need to walk away from this because you're nothing but a user. That's normally how that thing kind of has shaken out for me. I don't know about anybody else. But let me just do this real quick, because John said this. John said, hurt people hurt people. Yep, you're right about that. So counseling is much needed. Agree with that 100%. We could be friends, but marriage could never, because trust for me could never happen because of the fear. Yeah, John, I feel the same way. And that's what we've been talking about. And Nneka kind of said somewhat of the same thing, but not all of the same thing. She would take it a little bit further and probably give them a little bit more grace here than I probably would or have to give.
I mean, I don't know where I would land, because like I said, I'm thinking about, things to support staying and things to support leaving. And that would be based on previous interactions with the person. Let's say you've been with them 2 years. Like I said, he started reflecting like, okay. that explains that. Oh, she got some, a mean streak, and she got some anger issues. And so he
Mm,
all those things. So as he was kind of thinking back, like, how did I miss this? That you were
yes. See, that's where I would go with that, Nneka. I would start now. My mind would start replaying every single, and I don't know if I could ever stop replaying it because every time something would come up, my mind would go straight to, "Is she gonna kill me?"
yeah. In the movie, he was a little jumpy. He was.
I would. I can see why.
She came in the kitchen with she had a knife, and she was cooking in the kitchen, had this big old knife, and she was calling him, and he was in his study or something like that. When she came with a knife, and he's like, huh, she said, what? So she was like, play with you think I'm gonna kill you? So she kind of played with it a little bit. And so yeah, I get it. I do.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't want to limit it to that because, and this is a very good and eye-opening conversation because you may face this. Like it could come down to it. Somebody's about to get married, and you find out this awful thing about your fiance, and God forbid, because this happens in marriage, and you know this because you see a lot of people. You might find out something 10 years in that your spouse did. What do you do? Now that's a heck of an investment because to me, before you get married, that's one thing. After you're married, you've been with somebody for a while, that's completely different, especially if you have children. Right now, you got children, plus you got all this time vested, and if it were that instance, I may have to take a step back and say, I'm not going to maybe walk away from it like I would before we got married. Now I may have to take a step back and be like, we may have to put some space between us though for a minute because I got to get my psyche together. Like I got to get myself together because this thing has just rocked me, and I don't know, I don't know what to do. I might be just all over the place.
Yeah. So you wouldn't pray, stay, you would just walk away.
Yeah. If I'm not married, yeah, I'm check.
You ain't got to pray about it, huh?
Yeah. And, some people believe you got to pray about everything. And we know for a fact, people don't pray about everything. And God doesn't even require us to pray about everything, right? He wants you to think about things. He definitely wants you to consider him in your decision-making process. But it's just some things quite clearly because he's giving you intimate knowledge. He's giving you a wisdom and understanding. You don't have to pray about everything, right? But there are some things that God says, I need you to really be praying. Before you make that decision, you need to be praying. Like, you shouldn't spend all that money on it because you can't afford it. Or you shouldn't enter in this relationship with this person because they don't even love me. How are you going to enter into a relationship with somebody that don't even love me? You say you love me, but they don't love me. How do you enter into a relationship like that? And we could even go down that rabbit hole another time, but it's just all these different things. And I don't know. I definitely want to hear from you guys as to what you think. Where would you stand? Where do you land on this thing? Would you walk away? Would you pray? Would you stay? And I asked Nneka, I was like, Nneka, would you still get married? Because I want to know if you found out, would you still get married in 2 weeks? The wedding is coming up. You spent a whole lot of money. You got a lot of people coming. Your parents are, excited about the whole thing. And Nneka, do you tell your parents? Like, do you tell your dad, you ain't going to believe this. You ain't going to believe, Mom, you are not going to believe this. This broad just told me that she thought about killing 3 people and she ain't do it because there wasn't a 4th one involved and she couldn't get the computer to work right. The lighting was bad that day.
I wouldn't disclose that. I mean, you really have to tread lightly because you
wouldn't disclose that?
No. I would tread lightly. I would gather, not immediately. In this situation, I feel like you can't make an emotional decision. I feel like just praying about it and really processing, asking questions, because you did say you love this person, right? So I think you would owe it to, you don't owe it to them to marry them. You don't have to marry them. But I feel like she's a human being. Ask the questions. Like, what happened? What was going on in your head? Did you get help for this? Do you feel like you're better? Do you have these tendencies still? I would ask all those questions because she trusts me now, or he trusts me now. I feel like I have a responsibility now to get in your head. You done told me, but we are so quick to just be like, done. And there's an opportunity here to understand the person. You don't necessarily have to stay with the person, but to understand the person and be a part of their growth, be a part of their healing. Maybe so I'm saying I just can't walk away from people that I care about. Now, if
Yeah.
you've done something, if it's a pattern of bad behavior, oh, I'm done. Yeah, but
So, but you just said something, right? Because obviously, well, not obviously, but because I haven't seen the movie yet, but you did say this, there was some pattern of some sort of behavior. I don't know if it was psychopathic, sociopathic. I don't know what it was, but there was some sort of behavior that you mentioned. So again, that's why we all got to go see this movie now, because Nneka got us on our,
yeah, I was at it.
feel about this whole thing. But there was something going on in her life where it led her to that. I don't know if it was abandonment, if it was, not necessarily her parents abandoned her, but other kids maybe making fun of her. She's always being teased, ostracized. She's always left out. She's always the one kid that was too skinny or too big head. No, not enough hair, got long hair, short hair, light skin, dark skin, pimples, no pimples, all this old other crazy stuff, that we experience and go through.
Yeah. I really feel like with any situation, I feel like we need to take the time to talk to people. We're so quick to just discard people. And I'm not saying you got to stay. There's reconciliation and there's forgiveness, right? You can forgive a person without reconciling with them.
Yep.
And I feel like we miss opportunities to pour into people. And I don't feel like we should just discard people. You ain't gotta be with them. But as you part ways, have some parting words, some encouragement to help the person, because you could probably be a part of the healing that they need.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's just, that's why the world is made up of so many different people like yourself. And, we need people like you to help us, because honestly, I'll be very honest with you. For me, that ain't a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
I love you, but I got to love you from way across the street, not in my bedroom, not when I'm sleeping, none of that kind of stuff. Cause I can't sleep well.
That's serious. I'm laughing. I don't mean to, make light of it, but
no, you're fine. You're fine. Cause I'm saying it in jest, right? I'm making light of it because it's such a heavy subject matter that, we got to add some light to this, some levity to it to not make it as dark or as light, because people do go through this, right? We find people who they find out these secrets or they find out these things about somebody they care about. And this is why I asked you wouldn't tell your parents. They need to find somebody who they can trust to tell this, because that's a lot. That's a lot to shoulder and to have as a burden on you as a person. Like, that's a lot. Like, I know I would definitely want to see someone like you, but I definitely have to talk to my dad or somebody, be like, man, what would you do? What do you think I should do? Like, I'm telling you how I feel, but am I missing something? I know she's a great person, but she talked about killing all these people. And this is where I really struggle with Nneka, because it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to get the mass murderer title. You decided, well, and then my computer wasn't working right. Maybe the lighting was bad again. Maybe my makeup was bad that day. All these other little crazy things. You start taking somebody's life. Yeah. That's serious.
Serious. That you are absolutely right. It is serious.
Yeah.
Serious. But
and there are people out here like that, right? You got people out here every day thinking and contemplating about killing somebody.
Yeah. So you don't know what be going through people's minds.
And we realize too, bullying, and we don't want to, not have or not shine light on bullying, because I told you I used to be a bully when I was a kid. And here's the thing, I didn't realize. Listen, times have changed so much. There's so many things now where they call it politically correct, right? Where when you were a kid in the 70s and the 80s growing up, maybe I was even in the 90s, talking about somebody, joning was what we called it, joning, the dozens, all these other kinds of things. None of that stuff was considered bullying then, but we know now it was a form of bullying, because, you were making somebody feel less than, while you kind of felt better than, or whatever the case is. You did these different things. We didn't know that back then. At least I didn't know that. And I don't know that I would have probably done that had I known it was bullying. I just thought it was fun. Yeah. Right. As a kid, but I was a kid too. That's the other thing. Man, I didn't do it I did it when I was about 15. I definitely did it when I was 15. I was on the road back then, but bullying has changed. It's taken on different forms, right? Like, we got cyberbullying. which I struggle with some of these things because, especially cyberbullying, because you've never met the person.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. That's
Yeah. Yeah. And you have all these different forms of bullying. So yeah, bullying is not good in any sense. And we don't want anyone to be bullied because we understand, you know, you might be the bully today, but tomorrow you may be bullied. And it's no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
Yeah.
You will run, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. In any event, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. Nneka, you have any parting words for us on tonight as we get ready to get out of here?
I just think in all our relationships, I feel like, now this is an extreme situation, but I feel like we should, you know, inquire more. We should dig a little more. We should ask more questions and not be so quick to just throw our hands up and just discard people, because we could be a part of their healing process. I think we all have a responsibility to one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we should just kind of throw our hands up. I mean, I get it. You know, there are patterns that people establish that are not healthy, and you have a right to choose whether or not you want to be in that relationship. But while you have that person's attention, I feel like you should be dropping some seed so that they can grow and be better.
Yeah. No, listen, I 100% agree. I always love having these discussions with you because I feel like I get my own little session with you and I start to reflect. Seriously, I start to reflect and I think back. I'm like, okay, while I did make the decision already, I may be faced with this again.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm faced with it again, would I make a different decision?
Yeah.
I'm armed with some more information. So my decision may be different than it was in the past because I have more information now.
Yeah.
And so I may not behave and I may change my behavior going, you know, looking at it now, just because I've learned a little bit more and I've sat with you and I've talked to you and I've listened to you a lot. Talk about, you know, how you could actually, one, be of help to someone else, but in you helping someone else, you're actually the one being helped, right? So I started thinking about these different things. I'm like, yeah, I probably should give that a little bit more thought. And again, I just didn't have all the information to process it, you know, before, because I never talked to anybody about it. I'm just like, hey, this is how I feel. It's worked for me before. And guess what? You know, I'm gonna keep on doing it.
Yeah, because I would want someone to do that for me if they see out of pocket. I mean, I know the conversation that we're having is very serious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even the smallest infraction, I would want someone to pull me aside and say, "Hey, Nneka, did you notice? You know, I want to be better. I don't want to be stuck."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's iron. I want to be sharpened so I can be better. I don't want.
No, I agree with you, and that's, you know, but see, and so as we get ready to close this out, as we're closing this out, I should say, this is why it's important, Nneka, to have someone like you, right? It's important to go seek someone that you can talk to, air out your grievances, if you will, your concerns, your issues, your problems, because what we do know is you cannot work it out by yourself.
No.
Right? It's almost impossible for you to work it out by yourself. You're going to need some help, whether it's from, you know, the church, you know, a paid therapist, a friend, or somebody needs to step in and kind of help you see another perspective. Because if you're doing it by yourself, there's only one perspective you're getting. It's yours. And you can't always tell, because you're in the midst of it, if what I'm doing is the right thing. Do I have enough information? Do I have enough information, but do I know enough?
Yeah.
So no, I get it. Thank you so much, guys. We're going to get up out of here, but I do want to ask you, what would you do? Would you stay? Would you pray? Would you stay? Or would you get away? Me, I'm gone. I'm out of here.
Right. What's that smoke? What's that smoke? Oh, that was Michael. That's always his smoke.
Listen, it's the smoke, it's the dust, it's all that. It's like poof, he gone.
The dust, right.
Yeah, out of here. Listen, guys, thank you so much. Please do us a favor. We need you. If you aren't following, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Mandatory Conversations with Mike Johnson. On Mondays, I have my co-host with me, Nneka J. Owens. Please, we need your help to get this thing moving along. We got some great content. We love talking to you. Nneka is a professional. I'm just the kind of guy that's facilitating over here and leaning on her a little bit.
You got a lot.
I'm trying. But we need you guys' help, and we would love to have you come on board tonight. Our show is sponsored by myself, by my company, JL Michaels Custom Clothiers. If you need anything in the way of custom clothing for men or women, Please check us out. Weddings, holidays, jobs, any of those kinds of things. We're also doing image consulting and stylist work. We can help you with all of those different things. Thank you so much. We're getting out of here. We'll be back on Monday, God willing. Thank you so much again, and peace.